See, they're breaking down George Floyd.
Oh yeah,
Memorial.
we'll pull that up. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's talk about
Speaking of
that.
the chop.
Wait, what happened?
They're pulling down that memorial, George Floyd Memorial, where there's like 12 city blocks where they like blocked off from the road.
No. It's okay. Here we go.
Is this bunk?
It's not bunk. It's just you're late to the party.
Yeah.
So CBS 4 Minnesota says George Floyd Square intersection briefly reopened before community pushback. You know, man, are we still on the air? Okay, I'm not going to swear. I was going to swear if it was disconnected.
Well, I'm glad we're not disconnected.
The media is such trash. Community pushback.
What's that mean?
The community has been begging for the police to come in and stop the rampant gunfire and like killings
Yes.
in the no-go zone in Minneapolis. The community pushback. I love how they call it George Floyd Square. Is that it? Like, okay. So in memory of George Floyd, you have a bunch of people shooting each other and shooting at buildings and stealing cars, and there's like reporters hitting the deck. Wonderful. That's a great memorial. So as they did reopen, it was big news. Everyone's like, oh, the no-go zone's being shut down. The cops are moving in. And like an hour later, Antifa came and just put it all back.
Oh. And then they would come back again to take it down again?
No, that's it. They gave up.
Oh.
Yeah, the police are incapable of doing anything.
Dang.
Well, they can arrest you,
Yeah.
for at a moment's notice based on government edict,
Yeah.
but not Antifa based on the actual law.
Yeah.
So I have a question about this. Let me ask you a question. So, Seamus,
Yes.
what would you call it if a group of people of an ideology, they believe your nation's history is fake, and they begin imposing their ideology over this people? They fly a different flag.
Yeah.
They burn the flag of the one nation.
Okay, I'm
They
with
start
it.
seizing territory in certain cities where
like
people
it.
are literally shot and killed.
I like it.
And they get the law enforcement to operate based on their whims and edict instead of the actual law. Those that literally break hard law are exempt from it, and those who violate edict get arrested and put in jail. Meanwhile, prisoners are being released, and then they fly their flag at your embassy. Like, what would you call that?
Mostly peaceful.
Mostly peaceful?
Mostly peaceful. Yeah, I think that's probably a solid situation.
You add all those
I don't think
things
there's
together.
anything that wrong with that. Tim, they're protesting a bad thing, so anything they do is okay. And if you criticize any of that, you're just okay with the bad thing that they're
No,
protesting.
but let's go through this. Let's literally go through each point first. Antifa openly breaks the law, and the DAs release them. Actual statutory law that is codified.
Yep.
Conservatives and people and not necessarily even conservative small business owners violate edict from governors that is not codified, and they get arrested by police and fined.
Yep.
Okay. Antifa begins seizing different jurisdictions of different cities with weapons and even killing people on numerous occasions. These people say that the history of this nation is incorrect. Everyone of this nation is evil, and they burn and desecrate the flag of this nation. And then they fly their own flag with Marxist symbols at the embassies of this nation. It doesn't. It sounds like
Like insurrection,
Like occupation.
like insurrection, like
a group of people telling you your
invasion,
history is
like
wrong and burning your flag,
invasion
Like
and
if-
flying
or
their flag
something?
at your embassy.
If it was
Yeah.
the Chinese government, I don't want to like make the Chinese bad guys, whatever. But if it was like a foreign powers government that was doing this to our country, that would be like an occupation and creating like a puppet state out of our government.
Yep.
If they can decide who is or isn't guilty of the crimes, but it was like the Chinese government or the foreign government was deciding, that's
In West Virginia, there's a huge controversy happening because at the schools, the people who are who got elected are woke, and they're introducing critical race theory. But the people of West Virginia are all like seriously not woke.
Unbelievable.
So there's
I thought I was gonna come spend some time out here, but I can't.
But it's crazy when you think about it, because you have the police enforcing things that are not laws. And
Yeah.
during the pandemic, they started releasing prisoners, and they started they arrested that salon owner. And it was crazy. It was like you're putting a salon owner in jail and releasing criminals. She didn't break any law. She violated an edict. The governor, they're like, we hereby decree, and she gets arrested. She gets arrested and locked up. You look at the barber in Michigan, broke no law, violated the decree of a governor.
Yeah.
Dude, when a group of people come to you and say your history is fake, and they demand you revise your history, and they go into your schools and start telling your kids that their history is wrong, and that the people who run this country are evil, the founding fathers are evil, the country is an evil nation that must be broken up or broken apart. They burn the flag. The police help them. I'm like, that's it. Like America, what is it? Is it still a thing at this point? When the history of this country has been erased, does the country still exist? Is there an America if the history of America is gone?
It's an interesting question. I mean, we talked about this before, but the cities are definitely gone. I would say go out to the country, get away from them. You've been saying that a lot too. I think it's possible that this country could just end up fracturing. I see secession being a possibility. That sounds kind of insane. I think if you said that 5 years ago, people would look at you funny. And I'm not saying it's a certainty, but it certainly seems possible at this point. And I think maybe that could be the only peaceful solution. Maybe
divorce.
Again, I'm also mostly peaceful. I'm also more or less thinking out loud here. I'm not making hard and fast predictions, but I think you could still have a country. I think it's just that these cities end up falling to these far less activists. Or what happens is after some time, people realize how horrible things have gotten in the areas where these activists have basically been put in charge by the political authorities, and they react against it.
I just see a group of people who burn the American flag, and now they're flying their flag at our embassies.
For sure. I guess my point is, I think there's going to be a massive backlash against it.
I don't.
No?
No, I think conservatives are particularly ineffective.
Yes, so I agree that conservatives are, but I think a lot of the people who buy into this stuff right now are starting to see it fall apart. And the more power we give them, the more they're going to be exposed as completely incompetent and even evil to their followers.
But it's tribalism.
Maybe. I mean, I think it's tribalism, but like at some point, when you're not getting fed, you kind of stop believing in whatever it is the people who are in charge of you are telling you the narrative is.
Except one faction is saying, we'll give you everything for free, and it's those evil people keeping it from you. Mm-hmm. So when things break down, they're going to look at two factions, the Republicans being like, work hard. And then they're going to look at the Democrats being like, we'll give you whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And where are they going to flock to?
I guess it depends on how things actually become divided in terms of the actual authority. If you look at these left-wing cities where people are protesting and they're getting away with doing whatever they want, and they're essentially in charge to some extent, like you've said, they basically can run wild and do as they please. I think it's going to become obvious even to people in these movements that, yes, they and their leadership are in charge, or they do have special privileges, they're in control of the situation, and when there's a failure, it's pretty much their fault. I think it's going to become more and more difficult to scapegoat the Republicans who are out in the country when your city is falling apart and it has totally Democratic leadership.
The progressive in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia got reelected in a landslide.
Oh, man,
30 points.
Yeah, I'm not saying it happens today or tomorrow, but I'm saying I think in the long run, corrupt hierarchies fall apart.
Maybe, but after everything we saw last year, people went out in droves desperate to vote for Democrats.
Yeah.
Like Ted Wheeler gets reelected. Mm-hmm. Everyone hated him. Even the left hated him. And he still gets reelected. And then you look at Minnesota and you look what they did with the Chauvin trial. I mean, dude, I have zero faith that this country, I look at everything that's happening and I'm like, the people who are ignoring it, they're going to wake up one day and not realize what happened or how it happened. Because when you're watching it happen in real time, it's just crazy. But it's really funny when I talk to somebody who doesn't pay attention to the news, mm-hmm. and they still think it's 2019. They're like, man, last year was crazy, huh? And then I'll be like, what about it was crazy? And they'll be like, just the pandemic and the lockdown. And you can ask them anything about the stimulus, the inflation, the shortages, the pipeline attacks. You can talk to them about China and Taiwan also. They'll be like, what? It's really crazy when I look someone in the eyes and I'm like, yeah, so what did you think about they're flying BLM flags at our embassies? And they go, what? Yeah. I'm like, what? It's
insane.
How, because it's imagine this. Imagine if right now you hear this stuff and then you turn the news off. And the next time I see you, I'll be like, so did you report to your gulag for reassignment for re-education?
For gender reassignment?
They'd be like, what are you talking about? It's like, oh yeah, re-education starts tomorrow. And they'd be like, what? That's not real. How can that be real? And it's been this way throughout the culture war. When I talk to people who don't follow news, I'll say something and they'll just be like, that's not true. How is that possible?
Yeah.
Because it's happening faster and faster and faster. So we're at this point now where let's talk about the state of this country. A year of riots and explosions and vandalism and chaos in the Pacific Northwest. The no-go zones being set up where people are taking them over with guns and killing people, literally killing them in the George Floyd no-go zone, in the Capitol Hill no-go zone, people literally being shot and killed in Portland, Aaron Danielson getting shot in the chest. Then you look at the trial of Chauvin. And what happens? Not only does it get charged by the state, the feds come in after the fact, and the feds had a secret plan to arrest him should he have been acquitted. And now they're charging him again with civil rights violations and the 3 other cops. When he was being tried, the jury had to be escorted in with armed security because the city was under a riot. So you know that's not a fair trial.
100%.
Like I said, the embassy's flying the flags of this ideology. Joe Biden reversing a ton of Trump policies on banning the ideology. It really does feel like if you took someone from 2 years ago and brought them to today, they would not believe a word you would say about the current state of the country. Believe it or not, many people still don't think Antifa exists.
Well, you know, and this is the thing. So when people were talking about the far left for the past several years, we were more or less scoffed at as not serious because this is just a bunch of young, dumb college students and teenage or young adult activists. No one actually cares. They don't have any actual power. And look at where they are now.
Everywhere.
Yeah,
Yep,
the
exactly.
16-year-olds or 19-year-olds now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
21.
18-year-olds are, in their 20s. And the
big
people in their
difference.
20s are now entering their...
Yeah.
So it's funny, 10 years ago, when we started getting the culture war stuff, Gamergate, I think, was what, like 2013, 2014?
That was 2014, yeah.
2014. So now it's been 7 years.
It's crazy.
So somebody who was 15 during that is now 22. They're now taking jobs at industry. Somebody who was 20 during that and working for the woke is now 27 and a manager at a news outlet, some like senior editor, and they're writing stories in favor of that ideology. And this is why I was telling people years ago, there's civil war. Like the collapse is going to get crazy when you see people fleeing blue states to red states to get away from this, and people in red states who are urban centers who are more blue fleeing to blue states, and the polarization is sharpening between physical boundaries. Like what's the result of this? Joe Biden's flopping around like a lunatic. The border crisis is worse than it's ever been. Kamala Harris laughs at the prospect. And what happens come 2024? Does Donald Trump run again and get reelected? Is there the backlash that you describe where people are like, I can't handle this anymore, so they vote for Donald Trump, and then this causes an equal and opposite reaction on the left where they go nuts and start destroying things?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's possible. When I'm speaking about a reaction, in part I was sort of talking about like a hypothetical scenario where the nation actually does collapse. In terms of Trump being reelected in 2024, I mean, I think there's certainly a possibility of that happening. I think there could be backlash. I think it'll become really obvious by that point that this is a complete farce. Everything the left has said they want is pretty much just them paying lip service to a specific set of values that seemed popular so that they can get power and basically tear down the institutions that they harbor resentment towards for whatever reason. But
They're doing it unopposed, man.
I think that it's possible. On the other hand, I don't know. I think the entire dominant media culture is on their side, and that's no small thing. Many Americans don't trust the media anymore, but some still do, and also these people are in control of the social media outlets as well, and so they determine what's true and false, and the fact checkers will say X, Y, and Z if it fits their agenda, and so it's hard for me to say. I can't say right now that there will absolutely be this backlash by 2024 and that Donald Trump will be reelected. But I do think that it's a distinct possibility. There are a lot of factors here, and it's too complicated to make one prediction. I want to sort of see how things go, and especially because, look, if you had asked me 1 year or less than 1 year into Trump's presidency what I thought the end of his first term would look like, none of my predictions would have come remotely close to what ended up happening. And so right now, we're less than a year into Biden's presidency, and I'm kind of sitting here trying to make a prediction on whether Trump could be reelected by 2024 if things will get bad enough. I mean, I really can't. We just have to expect the unexpected at this point and pray. I mean, that's my only advice.
I don't know if he'll get reelected. I mean, it might be a Buchanan situation. Joe Biden flounders and then Trump gets reelected and then civil war or whatever. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.